Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy, a weekly video game news podcast broadcasting live Fridays 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host Lex, and I'm joined by my co-host
Chris.
And we're going to talk about all sorts of video game news this week, including Esports. Esports happened.
I'm sorry, it's pronounced Esports.
Oh, Esports. They happened, and they were a big deal, followed by news about Cyberpunk 2077, followed by other things about Nintendo, several stories about Nintendo, followed by a game dev suing a game publication. After that, we're going to talk a quick bit about CES and a YouTuber that discovered EA underhanded sneakery.
Dun, dun, dun.
I also realized that we have two CES stories and they're not next to each other, so I'm going to change that in the lineup. That was a mistake.
Probably would be professional of you.
But let's start with the esports.
Shall we begin?
Overwatch League. It started this past Wednesday, which was the 10th? January 10th, 2018. 2024. But yeah, Overwatch League started, and it was a pretty big pull. Apparently, as Forbes reported, the feed, which Twitch has exclusive broadcast rights to, I guess, the feed hovered at 270,000 to 300,000 for most of the night, spiking at 350,000 during prime time. Those big battles, Dallas against Seoul. And, oh yeah, Twitch has a 2-year exclusive broadcast rights contract.
That's huge for Twitch.
Yeah, worth $90 million, according to Sports Business Journal. But this is not, it's not a huge deal, but it's a semi-big deal. Basically, as the article states, this is most comparable to the playoff rounds of some more established games like League of Legends or Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which is very impressive for a debut league. So this is, like, I don't know, it seems impressive in some ways and sort of just okay in others because of the amount of publicity and money that was thrown into Overwatch League and all the branding that they did on it. I feel like I was kind of expecting a more smash hit kind of debut for it. But on the other hand, this is just the debut, so it might be that it grows over time, and within a year it could be eclipsing things like League of Legends, CSGO, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty good for a debut. I mean, considering how, like, when we think of sports and like the big League of Legends and Dota and CSGO and even like Evo once a year with the fighting game community, we think it's kind of big, but it's really not that big at all. Like, it's in terms of like viewerships, it's only people that play are familiar with it. The fact that they can rack up enough numbers that can be like comparable to some lesser known sports, like real sports. I'm sorry, real sports, physical sports.
Physical sports.
I think it's pretty damn impressive. And I said this before, like when they first announced the Overwatch League, that the only way that you get to be as big as a sport is if you throw enough money at it. And Activision Blizzard's the only company that can, or one of the only companies that can really throw enough money at it to make it work. So I think it's a pretty good posting. As I said before the show started, I noticed that the New England Patriots official like Facebook and Twitter accounts actually posted like a picture, and it's like, our night's over, but the Boston uprising is only beginning. And the Boston uprising is the Boston Overwatch League and team. And I was like, holy shit, this is pretty official. This is pretty big. And I think that's actually because the Kraft family owns the team, the Boston Uprising, as well as the New England Patriots. Could be wrong about that. But yeah, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, we here, boys. We're doing it. It's sports. We're doing a sports for real.
Sports.
It's sports.
So, yeah, and just imagine that my fingers are together in a very Italian way when I say that.
Sports. Oh, gabagool. I think it's pretty. I honestly think this is pretty cool. I usually don't give a shit about too many sports, and I don't give a shit about many esports. But the one thing, and I've said this since I heard about this, that I think is cool and I think is a good idea, is giving them to cities instead of just random teams. I mean, they're essentially owned by like other companies anyways, but I think that people can get behind saying, oh, it's Boston's team, it's Houston's team, it's Seoul's team. Like, I feel like that people attach civic pride to sports very easily. And I think that's going to help them push forward to like a mainstream audience.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing I wanted to mention from this article that it points out is that the big esport concurrent viewership thing that has happened on Twitch in the past is the CS:GO Major Grand Final match, which is the biggest of the big esports, and that had 1 million concurrent viewers on a single channel. So they're a third of the way there with their debut. Good for them.
For the first night compared to a game that's been around for like over a decade.
This article goes on to talk about how it reads like a sports article, which is just funny to me. But we have stuff like the two Los Angeles teams easily overcame their competition, with the Valiant destroying the San Francisco Shock and the Gladiators surprisingly dominant against the Shanghai Dragons, both in 4-0 straight victories.
Hell yeah.
Last contest of the night was breathtaking. Breathtaking. But I do want to talk a little bit about the matchups and those competing, because it has not ended yet. So this is Stage 1, Week 1, and we had matches Wednesday, we had matches Thursday, we're having matches tonight, and I believe Saturday as well. And then next week we're going to have more. So, on Wednesday, like the article said, San Francisco got tooled on by Los Angeles, and then...
Straight up tooled.
Yeah, and then Shanghai got tooled on by the other Los Angeles team. Los Angeles got...
There's two Los Angeles teams?
Yeah, the Valiant and the Gladiators.
Does New York have two teams?
No, I only see one from them.
Huh.
Let's see, we had Dallas and Seoul competed. It was a little more even. Seoul came out ahead, but it was 1-2. And then London fought Florida, and London won, obviously, because Florida's trash.
Florida. Of course they are. Even London's better than Florida.
Yes. Philly went up against Houston, and Philly won. The Philadelphia Fusion, oof. Oh, I should also point out the London team is called London Spitfire.
Yeah.
And Florida's team is called Mayhem.
Yeah, the names are great.
Yeah. So Philadelphia Fusion beat out the Houston Outlaws. Ooh, that's a good name. Houston Outlaws. And their symbol is pretty sweet, too. Like a bull and a star. Oof, that's good. And then Boston went up against... The Boston Uprising went up against New York Excelsior.
That's a horrible name.
I wonder if they're paying Stanley royalties for that one. Yeah. But New York beat them in a classic Red Sox versus Yankees move. And then let's see, today, so that was Thursday, were those last three matchups. And then tonight we've got Los Angeles Valiant against Dallas Fuel. Why is it called Dallas Fuel? Man, that's bad.
Do they like? Does Dallas have like a lot of oil industry or something?
I think they do, actually. Yeah, I think because Texas has a lot of that, so that makes sense. Yeah. Also,
Florida has a lot of mayhem.
Didn't you ever watch King of the Hill? Propane features heavily.
Yeah, it's propane and propane accessories.
Yeah. But Florida Mayhem, is pretty much the most accurate name for a Florida team.
Florida sweat glands.
Florida man.
Yeah, the Florida man.
Tonight at 7 p.m. is the Los Angeles versus Dallas. At 9 p.m. we have Florida versus Boston. And at 11 p.m. we have San Francisco versus Shanghai. And then on Saturday we have London versus Philly at 2, New York versus Houston at 4, and Seoul versus Los Angeles Gladiators at 6. And it's the only thing that's weird about this to me is there's Seoul and Shanghai are in with all of these American city teams.
Yeah, well, I mean, considering how much of a presence they have in esports, I kind of assume they would.
Yeah, no, it's just weird that there aren't also other countries.
I'm sure there will be if it takes off.
Probably.
But, South Korea, it's got to be mentioned, and somewhere in China's got to be mentioned.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see a Japanese team at some point.
Yeah, Tokyo something.
The Tokyo
Kaiju.
Gojiras. Yeah, the Kaiju. That'd actually be a pretty cool name. Tokyo Kaiju.
So that would we'll see.
I'm not gonna lie. I may watch the Florida versus Boston game tonight at 9, just to check it out, just to see what it's all about.
I don't know if I'm gonna be around, but if I am, I should check that out.
Yeah. I also in our Discord, I got the Facebook thing from the Patriots that they shared. If you want to look at that, I don't know if you can share that or not.
Maybe. Oh, I see. How do I open this in a way that I can click and drag it over? Nope, don't know how to do that.
If you open original, if you open it original, it opens a page.
There we go. Okay. Boom.
Boom, shaka laka.
Let's zoom in on this junk.
It's a little too much work. I'm sorry. I found it interesting.
Yeah, for one sentence, maybe a little too much work. But that's that. So
yeah, it says our new season starts on Saturday, but an uprising begins tonight. Good luck, uprising.
Mm-hmm. I also want to point out one of the side articles for the whole esports thing, the Esports, was pointing out that there are no women currently competing in Overwatch League. So,
good.
Fantastic. Maybe work on that.
There's Blizzard. No women in the NFL either.
I mean, that's true.
NHL, or the MLB, or the NBA.
But you don't have to segregate by sex in esports. That's the whole. That's the whole thing. You don't have to.
Sure you do. Sure you do, Lex. I'm sure there's some reason.
So let's talk about Cyberpunk.
Yeah. So Cyberpunk 2077's Twitter account comes alive after 4 years of silence. So, if those of you that don't know, Cyberpunk 2077 is a game based on a pen and paper cyberpunk game that came out in the 80s or 90s. And it's being made by CD Projekt Red, who are the makers of the Witcher series. This is their next big open world, I hope, awesome project. And the big thing is that their Twitter account has been silent since, I think it was 2014 or 2013. Yeah, no, it was 2013 when the original trailer for the game came out. And over the, what day did this happen on? On January 11th, they tweeted something. And all it was beep with asterisks on either side. And that's it. That's all it did. But I mean, if you've been following it and they haven't tweeted or talked about this thing at all for 4 years, and then they suddenly have this, very, very promising, I think. And I'm super excited. I saw this because I follow the Twitter, and I saw that and I was like, I got very excited because The Witcher 3 is a monumental achievement. It's one of the best games ever made, probably the best open world game ever made. And the fact that CD Projekt is working on this awesome cyberpunk game I only have the highest hopes. And I think the rest of the world is pretty much in agreement.
Yep, no, can't argue with that. Looks great.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah. So who knows what the beep means, but hopefully they have something to show soon.
Yeah, in a couple days, hopefully we'll get a boop.
We'll get a boop, a couple blips.
Mm-hmm. So,
but yeah, I mean, you have to figure it's been 4 years since they showed the trailer. You have to figure it's been in development, pre-production before that. So
yeah, I can't believe it's been that long since the trailer. Oh my god,
isn't that crazy?
Christ,
isn't that shit? It is an awesome trailer too, by the way. If anyone's not seen it, go see it. Yeah, 4 years. So I mean, you have to figure that if they're on track to being probably somewhat done, unless they've hit snags. Which every game does, but, I have faith in them.
Very good. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So...
Cannot wait.
Japan.
The
console market in Japan.
Oh, that's the next story. Whoops, I had the wrong story.
Oh.
Let me bring it up. Yes. So this is from Kotaku. from Brian Ashcraft on Wednesday. For the first time in 11 years, the Japanese console market has grown, and we have a wonderful picture of a determined Mario there to steal your money. Over the past few years, the console market in Japan, both hardware and software sales, has been sluggish. In 2017, however, that changed. According to Famitsu, which if you don't know is the famous Japanese game magazine, hardware sales experienced a huge spike in 2017 compared to the previous year. In 2016, Japanese hardware sales were, in sales in yen, but is basically 1.5 billion US dollars, while in 2017 they jumped to 1.81 billion US dollars. Software sales also increased. In 2016 they were 1.6 billion. In the following year they were 1.69 billion, or 163 in 2016, 169 in 2017. A big part of the success is due to Nintendo's Switch. I can't read for shit today. A big part of this increase is due to Nintendo Switch's brisk hardware sales. The PS4 has also continued to churn out steady numbers. The last time the Japanese gaming market saw an uptick was in 2006, when the Nintendo DS Lite, the Nintendo Wii, and the PS3 were launched. Pretty huge news. We've been talking about how huge the Switch has been doing, how great Nintendo's been doing, also how great Sony's been doing, and if there's never been clearer evidence than this. If you can get the Japanese market to uptick in consoles, which has notoriously gone more and more mobile, then that's pretty huge.
Yeah, good on them. They did it.
Mm-hmm.
They did it.
You did it. Funny, I was looking, or I should say funnily enough, I was looking at what the Xbox One sales have been in Japan, and it's like next to nothing. I found an article when the Xbox One S, like the slim model, came out. The first week it sold 49 units in Japan. Not 49,000, just 49.
It's almost like the Japanese have a hatred for that stupid American console with its shooter games.
Something. The funny thing is, if you remember back in the 360 era, they tried really hard to get it to be a Japanese console. Like, they did all those moves to get more JRPGs on there. They got Blue Dragon. And, like, it just never worked. Microsoft just can't break that market to save their souls.
Yeah, no. But I think it's interesting that it's not just that they don't care for it. I think when you sell less than 100 units, there's some active hatred going on there.
Or something. Yeah, it's crazy. The Switch sells fucking crazy good. The PS4 sells crazy good. It's just that damn Xbox system.
The X-Bone.
Damn Gaijin and their fucking shitty consoles. Disrespectful. Unhonorable.
Nintendo had some big news this week that happened on Wednesday.
Kind of big news. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. So last week we reported that there were rumors swirling around that we were going to get a Nintendo Direct on the 11th, which was actually Thursday. And those rumors turned out to be completely true. That is what we got. We got a Nintendo Direct Mini. It ran about 14 minutes, and it just had sort of a scattershot of little announcements in it. Some of them pretty cool. A lot of them just updates for other stuff.
Yeah. One of them was pretty cool, I'd say.
So I guess we just go through them because there's that many. But The World Ends With You remixed is...
You're not getting a new game.
No.
You're just getting a remix.
Yep. That game that I've never heard of is coming to Nintendo Switch.
You never heard of that?
No, never, not even remotely.
Really?
But
that was huge on DS. People love that game, man.
Oh, all right. Well, good.
It's pretty cool. But it came out in 2007.
That Pokemon fighting game is getting DLC. Sure.
Why not?
Okay, whatever. New abilities for Kirby and his friends. Kirby stuff. I don't know.
You can throw stars.
It's not a new Kirby game, so I'm not super excited, but whatever.
Yeah.
We're getting Hyrule Warriors, the Dynasty Warriors Zelda game is coming to this Nintendo Switch console. And people are excited about that because this game was just out on the Wii U and no one owned any of those. So, if you wanted to play it, you were just kind of shit out of luck because you couldn't do it.
It's too bad those games are garbage. All those Musou games.
All those Musou games, yeah, they're garbage. But some people like them. I don't know. I mean, Dynasty Warriors sells pretty well.
They must.
Oh, okay. So the next one, actually, I care about and I'm interested in.
That's a big one.
Mario Tennis Aces is coming.
Yeah.
I'm super
Mario
excited
Tennis
about that. Why don't you take the next couple? I gotta do something real quick.
Sure. We got Ease 5, 6, 7, 8. Lacrimosa of Dana on Nintendo Switch. I guess it's another one of the Ease trilogy. I've never played any of them. I doubt Lex has either. There's a new update to Mario Odyssey coming out called Balloon World, I think it is. And there's some actually interesting kind of stuff in here. Apparently, like, players can go through and hide balloons in the world, and then you have to go find them, or something like that. We have the SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. More fighting stuff. We got new characters in Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Yeah, DK, Donkey Kong coming to Mario Rabbids.
Wait, oh, is that who it was? I didn't actually watch it, so I don't know the details.
But the tagline is "You'll go bananas" over this one.
Oh! Yeah, I guess I should have seen that coming. Yeah, Mario plus Rabbids will forever be the game that stole the limelight from the awesome XCOM 2 DLC that everyone should have played.
That's true.
Was there anything in those other stories? The Balloons Land thing, isn't that like players like hide balloons in the world and then like you can go find them or something like that?
Yeah, so it's a multiplayer party game mode for it, which depends heavily on you knowing level layouts of Super Mario Odyssey. So it doesn't work well as a party game. For random people coming over that haven't played Odyssey before. You both have to be people that have played Odyssey to make it, like, challenging and for people to be able to do it. So, sure, I guess. I don't know. I don't see the point of that. But yeah.
But it's got Luigi in it.
Lugia. Payday 2 is coming to Nintendo Switch, which we knew about. I think there was an announcement about that, but we got more.
Yeah,
we got more details. It's going to have local play, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Kind of strange.
But I really liked that game on PC. I mean, it's kind of old at this point, so I haven't played it in a long time. But, let's see. We have... I don't remember what this last one was.
Fee.
Yeah, that one. That game coming to the Switch. I don't know too much about it. But then we got... we're getting a port of the Donkey Kong game.
Tropical Freeze?
Yeah, Tropical Freeze, that was it. That's coming to the Switch. And that was a Wii U
a lot
title,
of people,
right?
Yeah, it was a Wii U only title. And a lot of people that regretfully own the Wii U and have Stockholm Syndrome because of it have said that game's really good. I never played it. Neither did a lot of people because no one owned a Wii U.
Yep. And then the biggest news for last, which is becoming a trend with these directs, not that the biggest news would be last, but that the Nintendo will show off all these properties that are like, oh, hey, Mario and Rabbids, and a lot of our first party stuff, and some cool indie games. And then, like, worked in there will just be, like, a brutally graphic, mature game. Because, like, they talked about Doom being in there. And now
and Wolfenstein.
And Wolfenstein. And now they are bringing Dark Souls Remastered to the Nintendo Switch.
That's fucking rad. I think it's rad.
That's pretty cool.
Dark Souls is amazing. And I think this is, like you said, they squeeze in brutally... violent games in there. And I think that's a good sign because it means that they're solving the third party issue that they've had for a long time. Granted, these are like Dark Souls is a game that came out like a fucking decade ago. It's the remastered one, I know. But you know what I'm saying? Like it can't run the new Assassin's Creed game or something like that. But it's still good that they are at least combating the third party issue that they had with the Wii and the Wii U. And they're seemingly getting back to a place where they were maybe on like the Super Nintendo, Because like Doom came out for the Super Nintendo. It was a red cartridge. It was awesome.
Yeah. No, hopefully they can get, if this goes well, if this sells well, and I assume that it will, we can get some of the other Souls games. Because I feel like you could probably if you can port Doom, I think you can port Dark Souls 2.
Oh yeah, totally.
And probably not Bloodborne, but maybe?
They wouldn't be able to anyways because it's a Sony exclusive.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But
I get your meaning. Yeah, you could probably do that.
But
those games aren't crazy graphically intensive.
Yeah.
They're just pretty.
Pretty in a horrifying way.
Yeah.
All those monster designs.
Oh, they're awesome. So yeah, this Switch, this Direct, I mean, it's called Mini for a reason, is kind of lackluster. Besides a couple small announcements, I know that they usually do these in January. I feel like this one maybe could have waited for a little bit more. I hope this isn't a sign that Nintendo is slowing their roll at all. Because they kind of blew their load like when they came out with the new Mario and the new Zelda and shit like that. And I feel like besides like the tennis and maybe Dark Souls, this is just kind of like we don't got much left.
We need to see some big new title announcements at E3. No later than E3. And I think we will because they've got enough of like lead time to do that. But that's what we're gonna need to see because ports are great and fun and they'll sell, but you can't. You need some more big like AAA style original titles on the console.
A console's legacy it does not make for ports. I mean, but then they have teased real big things with Metroid Prime 4 and a Pokemon game on the Switch. Like
so all they need to do is actually announce what those games are.
Right.
And then
Bayonetta 3, I guess, for people like that.
Bayonetta 3. That's true. Maybe a little underwhelming of a Direct, but still some interesting news in there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about pod racing, shall we?
Now that's what I call pod racing.
Yeah. So there's this game called Redout. Not a great name, but
I think it's pronounced Redoubt.
Oh, Redoubt.
Yeah.
It's pronounced Readout. Excuse you. But it's a game
pronounced Redoubt.
It's a game that looks like F-Zero, pretty much. You're racing along. It's the future. Some of the cars have big like floating engines in front of the actual like cabin and just look like pod racers. So
try spinning. That's a good trick.
Yeah. Listen, Episode 1 Racer for the N64, freaking phenomenal.
It's amazing. I tried playing it the other day actually because I found that I still had the cartridge. It's really does not look good. It has not aged well.
No, I would not imagine so.
The play's really fun though, and pretty impressive for the 64. How fucking fast and fluid they could get it going.
Yeah, there was that, and F-Zero for the N64 was really awesome because it's not 3D. It's like sort of 3D, but it's kind of that weird like the end of the Super Nintendo lifespan 3D stuff. And it's great because since it's not 3D, but it's on the N64, you don't drop any frames because there's like less for the system to process, so you can go really fast.
Yeah, that's good shit.
But yeah, that F-Zero game was great. But anyway, so this developer that made Redout, I forget what they're called, 34 Big Things. They got really angry because Eurogamer's Digital Foundry site published a video that Redout developer claims erroneously claimed that the Xbox One X version of the game renders at 1080p. So basically, the Digital Foundry video said, "Hey, Redout, it runs great on the PS place, but not so good on the Xbone. So maybe if you're gonna buy it for the PS4." And this is why it doesn't run well on the Xbox. And 34 Big Things were very angry because it wasn't just that there was this article saying, or video saying that it didn't work well, but because of the video, as gamers are prone to do on the internet, people just gave 34 Big Things a ton of shit. Of saying like, oh, you're sloppy, you're lazy developers, you should have spent more time on the Xbox One version, why do you suck so much? Fix
Lex,
it.
Gamers on the internet were angry and mean? Are you kidding me?
Shocking, I know. But yeah, they were. So the lead guy of 34 Big Things, I don't know if he's mentioned in this article, but he wrote this post saying like, "Oh man, isn't it great when you wake up to like a shitstorm over something that isn't true?"
Yeah. Valerio Di Donato is his name.
Yeah, he got real angry. He talked about how he called Digital Foundry fake news, which was fun.
Yeah.
It's always fun when that term gets thrown around.
Yeah.
And he basically said, listen, this is a lie, and the reason why this is a lie is because there was just an Xbone patch that enables, like upscale rendering, I think it had to do with that. And if you account for that, it runs fine. There's no problem with this game. Like this video is just erroneous. So, in true like non-internet fashion, Digital Foundry said, oh, and then the guy from 34 Big Things said, we'll sue you because you're ruining the reputation of our game.
Yeah.
And in true non-internet fashion, Digital Foundry said, oh yeah, you're right, our bad, let's take that video down.
Yeah.
So
I feel like this dev and the crazy guy from the Game Awards should hang out. They seem like they're very passionate men.
Just passionate men.
Yeah.
Not drunk at all, just passionate.
Just passionate, not drunk or high or whatever. I mean, I completely understand this guy's anger at Digital Foundry, because it's like, it's true. It's like, I'm sure that it was not like a malicious thing from Digital Foundry. They probably just made a mistake. But for him, it's a fucking week of bullshit and articles and fucking lowered game sales and maybe some higher game sales, because all news is good news. But it's like, I can understand that he gets pissed, because like that, I'm sure that's a real fucking ball ache to deal with.
No, I actually, the more I think about it, the more I believe that him threatening legal action was the best thing he could have done. Because I think when you first read through the story, you think, oh, threatening to sue, that's like kind of overboard. Especially since Digital Foundry were like kind of chill about it and admitted they made a mistake. But actually, I think the reason why he did that is because he wanted to take charge of the narrative. And the whole idea that, this article comes out and then there's a bunch of shit that gets laid on him. And if he had just come out with a statement saying, oh, actually, that's not correct, could you issue a retraction or an edit to this story? That might happen. But the juicy, salacious news story is the thing that sticks in people's minds. Right. And if this doesn't run on the Xbox One, well, is that juicy story, and whatever his response isn't juicy, no one will remember his response, and they'll just remember the initial story.
And therefore no one will remember his game.
Yes. But if then his response comes back with, we're going to sue you, the juicy story becomes the possible lawsuit, and then people pay attention to his response, and he takes control of the narrative. So I think that's probably why he did it, and not just because he's, got extremely angry because of all of this online harassment, although that would have been a legitimate argument. But
I'm sure it's a little in column A, a little in column B. Yeah. But probably was angry, and that's also a smart move. And I mean, honestly, it's as sad as it is. I don't know what this game is. I do now, and I'm sure that's the same for a lot of people that read Game Revolution, which I've also never heard of.
Well, I think this is just a remaster of Episode 1 Racer. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, that's fine if it plays well.
Yeah.
I mean, it got me to look at the video and got me to kind of check it out and be like, oh, that's interesting. I'm never going to buy it. I also don't own an Xbox, but like...
I was watching the video of this and I got kind of nostalgic for Episode 1 Racer, even though this isn't really Episode 1 Racer, but I got nostalgic for that, and I was like, I would buy this, and then I look and I'm like, oh, is it on Switch? It's not on Switch. Okay, well, I'm not going to buy it then.
Yeah. Is it on Steam? Actually, I don't know.
It might be, but you know, it probably is. But yeah, no, maybe I'll get it for that. I don't know. See if the price is right.
Right. And I think that's, I mean, I think this is just the case with video games in general. Like it's such a cluttered landscape. You hear about, if you're a enthusiast in the gaming space, you hear about so many games all the time, and it's hard to remember them all, you know? Like, but you'll remember, I don't even remember the name of it, but the drunk guy from the Game Awards. You'll remember his game because you'll attach it with, that guy that was crazy and drunk on the Game Awards.
A Way Out is the name.
A Way Out, yeah. Which looks like a really cool game, but after E3, during E3, I was like, that looks really cool, and then I forgot about it until that drunk guy. Now I'm not going to forget about it, you know? So, I think you have to make a splash. You have to do something that makes you stand out, even if it is get angry at somebody that's doing tech reviews of your game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, Digital Foundry, you guys, come on. Don't mess up like this.
They're usually pretty good. I use them
they're from Eurogamer, so I have a higher expectation of them, because Eurogamer is like a really good publication. So
yeah, Eurogamer. When I think of Eurogamer, I think of like a professional European businessman in a suit.
Yes,
like it's all very stand up. Like their reviews are harsh.
The kind of person that says Esports,
yeah,
and then watches soccer.
Right, and then they like fix your collar, and they're like, "Hey, where'd you get that?" Yeah, so let's not get into stereotypes. But yeah, no, Eurogamer's like super legit, and Digital Foundry is equally legit. So it was just probably a mistake on their part. But yeah, end up with big old stories about Readout.
Now that's what I call shit posting. Let's talk about CES 2018. Yeah. There was a cool thing that was there. You sent me an article about it.
Yes, the Vive. So during HTC's pre-CES, and CES, if you don't know, is the Consumer Electronics Showcase. I think that's the thing. It takes place in Vegas, and it basically is a big showcase for tech. And their HTC, who makes the Vive, their pre-event showed off their new Vive Pro headset, which is kind of like a nicer, snazzier version of the Vive that they already have. They also, more importantly, in my opinion, showed off the wireless adapter to support both the Vive and Vive Pro. And basically what this thing is going to let you use the headset wirelessly, which is huge, I think, for VR.
Yep.
We've talked about it before, but I think the only way VR is going to get really crazy big is if people can wear them like glasses and not be attached to a bunch of stuff.
Oh my god, I love this thing that attaches to the top of your head for it.
Yeah.
It looks so silly.
So you can look like a Martian.
Yeah. But that's great.
About it.
I'm glad that they that technology is moving along. I still think that it's too late, but whatever, you know.
Never too late.
I think what's going to happen is this technology is eventually going to move along to the point that it's like really convenient and nice. And when that happens, all these companies are going to need to rebrand it completely, because the virtual reality brand, as it was branded when it first came out, is tainted by the giant headset that you need to plug into a computer.
Perhaps. Yeah, we'll see if they make another push, or the big companies make another push to try to make it more relevant again. I don't know. So, in the meantime, you can look like a Martian.
Yeah. Cool. There was another thing that happened at CES. Apparently, they lost power. So
how ironic for the big electronics show.
Yeah. A major power outage hit CES. So for 2 hours, I guess, they were without power on the north and central halls of the Las Vegas Convention Center that they were in. So this isn't like a big story, because A, it was only 2 hours, and B, it wasn't even the entire convention center. But it was funny that it's like, look, a show all about electronics. Oh, we don't have power. Well, guess we can't do anything.
Turns out all of our expensive, nifty gadgets are at the hands of the power companies.
Yep. There were a bunch of really fun tweets that came out about it. That said, let's see if I can find them. I'm pretty sure they're in this article. There's a bunch of pictures of just like the darkened show floor, and it looks very ominous. And there are like some people with flashlights and like stuff like that. Yeah,
One
somebody
person said this is some Titanic level shit.
Yep. Right now, all the flashlight vendors at CES are like, now it's our time to shine.
Yeah. We knew we paid a lot of money for this booth for a reason.
Yep. So, I mean, yeah, it was just kind of a funny thing. I guess it was because there was a lot of rain and it messed with their power transformer outside the convention hall, something like that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's what happened. But the power company was there, lickety split, to fix everything, and they got it fixed. So yeah, it was only 2 hours. It wasn't a big deal. It was just funny.
Yeah. I'd love to see that something like that. I wouldn't love, but I think it'd be funny if something like that happened during E3, like during one of the big press conferences.
That'd be great.
Because from what I understand, CES compared to E3 is a pretty like calm and like adult affair. Whereas E3 is like a bunch of like overgrown man nerds running around with press badges and acting crazy. It would probably be quite chaotic if you lost something like that at E3.
Yeah. That'd be fun to watch. I mean, I wouldn't be able to watch it because the power would be out, but it would still be fun.
People still got their phones.
Oh yeah, they could be periscoping everything.
Right. Or if you have the Vive wireless adapter, you can just stay in VR.
Yeah. No, but seriously, like, I would love it if that happened and people were periscoping it, so you could just watch live streams of chaos and, like, society breaking down as all of the gamers, like, trampled over each other to get out of the convention hall.
Out into the blistering sun of San Diego.
Yes, that would be, that'd be so good. Be so good. The people from Digital Homicide just pull out guns and bandanas.
Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me.
They would survive that apocalypse.
Oh, they totally would. Them and the Payday people, because they know how to get the fuck out.
That's true. Who else would survive that? Nintendo wouldn't. But they wouldn't be there anyway, so it doesn't matter.
They'd send in a direct, be like, whoops, it's me, power outages. Who would survive that? I feel like what's his name? Phil Spencer could probably make it through the apocalypse. He looks like a beefy dude.
Yeah. If Reggie was there, and maybe he would just be there at the booth or whatever, he would probably be able to take down quite a few people before.
Oh sure. Well, I think Reggie would, in kind of like a Walking Dead fashion, just like eventually he'd become king of the nerds very quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, you'd set up a feudal system and get like a giant tiger on a chain next to him, and just kind of rule over the E3 hellscape until the end of time.
Yep, totally. Excellent.
Excellent.
I look forward to seeing that at E3 this year.
And then Hideo Kojima would come busting through the wall, and he's like, "Are you surprised?" And then he would have like a mech. He'd be riding a mech, and
that would be that'd be so good.
I feel like I could write a whole fucking movie about this shit.
Okay, so let's move on to our last and our big story for the night. A YouTuber discovered a little bit of shadiness that EA was doing. Yeah, surprise! EA does shady things. But apparently, this YouTuber who goes by what was his name? Yongye.
Sounds right.
Yongye found some papers from 2017 that EA had commissioned, like kind of a study that they had commissioned that was between some of their executives and also I think some people from UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
And they discussed online matchmaking.
Yeah. In very, very scientific, almost scary terms.
Move over, Activision. It's time for EA to take a shot at online matchmaking patents.
Of course.
So these were things called the Dynamic Difficulty Adjustment for Maximized Engagement in Digital Games and EOMM, an Engagement Optimized Matchmaking Framework.
This sounds like some shit that Glottis would say during Portal.
Yeah, it does sound like
Glottis,
that.
rather. Like, it's just like, time for your dynamically difficult adjustment of maximizing engagement. It's like, It's just some devious sounding shit.
So this is, I guess the basic gist of it is there's this idea with game difficulty adjustment where you're playing a game and you're dying on like the same boss every time. And then the game will take that data and look at it and say, okay, this player is having a hard time. Let's scale back the difficulty of this boss so that they can beat it and continue on their way. Or if you're blitzing through all the game with no problems, then it would say, hey, let's ramp up the difficulty so that you're taking more time to play the game. And both of these things, in theory, sound great because they could make the game experience more enjoyable for people, especially people who are really good at games or really bad at games. So, you know, like a Polygon journalist could actually get through the game. Something like that, you know? And, and that all sounds great, but the EA study of this was actually not really about fairness. It was actually about how to take that scaling method and use it so that they could make more money on players in online matchmaking.
Yes, of course.
So the idea here with engagement optimized matchmaking is this idea that they want to have the player playing for the maximum amount of time. And reduce churn, whatever. I forget what churn is exactly, but it's a gross industry term that has been coined recently.
It's like reoccurring
consumer spending. Yep,
recurrent consumer spending. Yeah.
Yep. Or MTX.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Yep. So
I love MTX.
So the idea with this matchmaking is this thing where if you are playing, the game is going to dynamically adjust difficulty in terms of what players it throws you in matches with and their skill levels. It accords with what will keep you playing, not what will actually be a good difficulty match to you. Because you'd think that if it's online matchmaking and there's dynamic difficulty adjustment, the way it should work is that, hey, I am about this good at the game based on the game's data that is collected on me as I played it. So it should match me up against someone who is about that good as well. So it's an even match. But
matchmaking, that kind of matchmaking has been around since the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Since like Halo, I think, was one of the first to kind of have a decent matchmaking system in their online infrastructure.
And but this says, okay, so if we want you to play longer, the first thing we need to do is start you off with some chumps. Some real easy pickings, and you'll just play against those for a really long time until you've been playing the game for the amount of hours that we need you to play it for, like, the maximum probability of you, like, making a microtransaction, at which point you are no longer useful to us and you become the chump that we feed to somebody else.
You are chumming the water for the whales.
That churn. Gotta get rid of that churn.
I just love some of the phraseology here. Like, current matchmaking systems pair similarly skilled players on the assumption that a fair game is best player experience. We will demonstrate, however, that this is an intuitive assumption sometimes fails, and that the matchmaking based on fairness is not optimal for engagement. Also, a fun match should have players act in roles with perceivably joyful role distribution. However, it is still a conceptual, heuristic-based method without experiment showing that such a matchmaking system indeed improves concrete engagement metrics. It's some fucking, and I understand it is like a scientific paper, like from college people, so. You gotta be thorough with this shit, but it makes it sound so lab codey and so unpersonal.
But the first quote really hits on something super important, right? Because it says that matchmaking based on fairness is not optimal for engagement. So they're basically saying, yeah, like we could program this to be based just on fairness like it has been in the past and like people want it to be, but we'll make less money that way, so we shouldn't do that.
Right. Which I find it's amazing because you look at like Hearthstone, for example. Like Hearthstone matches you based on how many games you've won. Like that's pretty much it. You have a ranking, and if you win enough games, you go up in rank, and you fight people that are similar. It seemed. I mean, like I know that there's a system there too to determine like when you go against someone of a higher level than you. But it seems pretty reasonable when I play it. You know, I'm like, okay, I've won a bunch, so they're going to start throwing people that are higher than me to try to challenge me to see if I'm on a streak or if I'm actually really good. You know, and that feels reasonable and doesn't feel skeezy, and I still buy packs. You know, like I find it amazing that they have to do this much research to try to get people to pay. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that I'm a layman, and all this stuff is probably way more complex than I give it credit for. But when I see it done well, like in Hearthstone or something, I'm like, it doesn't seem that hard to make people pay for your game. Like,
no,
it doesn't seem. Or like Overwatch, it's like it's a really great team shooter, and there's skins, and so go ahead and buy them if you want. You don't have to. Like, it just doesn't. Or even PUBG, you can buy boxes in PUBG, but you don't have to. Huh? It just seems to me like when I look at those games, I'm like, it's not that hard. Like, people buy the crates and they make money, but there's still like a reasonable game that doesn't seem like it's skeezing you out. Whereas this is just like, this is some lab coat Gladys shit. Like, it's all it feels like. Where they're literally taking ideas like fun, and they mention this in the catch line, where it's like EA's researchers don't necessarily see concepts like fun or fairness contributing to their thesis. Like, that's completely true. It's not a part of the making money equation. So it does not. It's illogical, Captain. I guess is what they're trying to get to.
Yep, they gotta just care about making that money, and that's about all they care about. So,
this is a huge article, by the way.
It's huge. It's super interesting to read through, and it links to the videos that this YouTuber made when he found these papers, which are also worth checking out. But one of the things the article says at the end is it talks about how these papers are from 2017, and we don't really know if this stuff has been implemented yet, or if they're planning to implement it in upcoming games. Because
just like the Activision algorithms that they were.
Yeah, because it's just old enough that it's like very possible that like maybe this could have been implemented in Battlefront 2, maybe, or is planning to be implemented in something like Anthem, the upcoming Destiny game.
Right. The BioWare thing.
Yep. And
it doesn't. I mean, does it surprise you that they made this like? Obviously, I'm sure that there's some industry like crossover, people telling other people, you know, Activision working on it. I'm sure EA was working on it at the same time. Like, it's just the next step to push loot boxes. It really doesn't surprise me too much that they're working on this kind of stuff, and that it may actually be already in games.
It's also one of those things that, you know, they didn't just commission it because they just took so much shit for Battlefront 2. There's like no way they would commission this kind of thing in the wake of that. So I'm like, oh, this is too bad. They probably didn't want this to get out because it only hurts their narrative.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, whenever I think of Battlefront 2, I just picture like this ball of slime just like slowly moving through the world. Like, it's just such a like gross everything that happened to it. Like, I don't even know if the game's any good or not. It's just this game that's covered in a slime ball, you know. And it wouldn't surprise me if that they were planning on implementing it into that game, and now they're like, oh shit, like everyone's really pissed at us because we were greedy. And yeah, it's. I mean, we're still in the greed Olympics, although we don't talk about loot boxes as much.
The Greed Olympics, that was 2017, but hopefully 2018, a whole new year for greed. Get excited.
It's the greed marathon now.
Oof. Ars Technica reached out to EA for comment. EA did not make a comment.
Of course not.
No, they're not. They're probably not gonna. They will. Yeah. Maybe they will put out a carefully crafted press release at some point, but I think they'll probably just ignore this.
I'd try to reach out to the UCLA people that were involved in the research.
That would be interesting. Get interviews with them about the paper. So yeah, this is Anthem already looked stupid and derivative, but now it looks stupid, derivative, and underhanded.
Yeah.
So there's nothing's making me want to have anything to do with that game.
No, I mean, I uh, hmm. I wonder how much BioWare still has creative control over their games, because they did for a very long time. But the flop of Andromeda and potentially that whole franchise, I wonder how much EA stepped in and was like, all right, motherfuckers, you still want to make big, expensive games?
Yeah.
We got to have some more control. Because I have an insider. I had an insider. My sister used to work at EA Tiburon in Orlando. And she was working there right around the time that EA acquired BioWare, or they started publishing for BioWare. And according to her, at the beginning at least, and for years after, they let BioWare do like whatever they wanted, let them spend as much as they wanted, and just like kind of face palmed over the expenses, because they knew that BioWare was a like a prestige studio that made like really highly regarded games, that they were really big with hardcore gamers. So they let them run the gamut and spend all kinds of fucking money, and that's why the Old Republic, the MMO that came out, was like the most expensive game, or like the most expensive MMO ever developed, and they lost a shit ton of money on that. And then like they obviously lost a shit ton of money on Andromeda. I wonder how much control they're letting them have with Anthem now. Like,
yeah, probably not much.
Right.
Oh, one thing I will point out though, Battlefront 2, there was news on its sales numbers, and it did really well in December.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there you go.
And I mean, that's the thing about Battlefront. We talk smack about it all the time, but it's I'm not under any illusion that it didn't sell well. It's still a AAA title.
Oh, sure. And it might be a fun game. Like, that's why I said it feels like a game covered in a slime ball.
Yeah. And
it's hard to get to the game.
And the debate between when you're talking about something like Battlefront is not really, did this game flop? Because with the fact that it's a Star Wars property and a sequel, all that stuff means it's probably not going to flop. But it's more a conversation of, did it do well compared to other big AAA games of the time? And I would say probably not, but
possibly. I don't know. I mean, what else? I mean, what other really huge AAA things came out right around it? Like Call of Duty World War II. And like, I've been meaning to look up the sales for Call of Duty World War II, because I have a theory that I've never tested. In that I feel like Call of Duty numbers should be on the decline over the past couple of years, but I've never actually looked it up. I just have a feeling about it. You know,
I don't think they are. I'm pretty sure they're just as strong. I think they took a dip with Future Warfare, whatever it was called.
Oh, yeah.
Kit Harington game. And then they went back to World War II, and now they spiked back up again. But yeah, so that was that story. Let's talk about video games that just came out.
Games. I also wanted to say that I don't think that any game that has I shouldn't say any game, but almost any game that has the Star Wars title attached to it could flop.
Yeah, completely. I know, right? Exactly. Just like any game that has the Call of Duty title attached to it is not going to flop. It's just not going to. It's not going to happen. But, okay, so, The Escapists 2 just came out.
Hell yeah. I heard those games are fun.
Yeah, for the Nintendo Switch. Inner Space, comes out on the 16th.
What? Like the movie?
I hope so. I don't think that's what it is, but I want it to be. No, it's some charming looking indie game.
I love me some charming looking indie games.
An upcoming adventure game developed by Polynite Games. And it's coming to Linux, Windows, OS X, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One. So everything.
Gabe Newell will be happy. He loves that Linux.
Oof, Linux, so good. So that looks interesting. Kerbal Space Program Enhanced Edition coming to the PS4 and the Xbox, and also on the 16th, and Street Fighter V Arcade Edition coming to Windows and PS4 on the 16th.
Cool.
What else we got on the 18th? World to the West for the Switch. I don't know what that is.
We got Gintama Rumble
for the PS4. And then on the 19th, we have Deathmark.
Most original video game title I've ever heard.
Yeah. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory.
Woo!
That was
Digital
all one.
Monsters. Now, tell me, Lex, were you a Digimon kid or were you a Pokemon kid?
I think it was more of a Digimon kid than I was a Pokemon.
Really?
Yeah.
You were in that weird camp? Okay.
But
next thing you're going to tell me you grew up a Sega kid.
Yes, that's true. the Digimon story is coming out for the PS4 and the Vita, so it's a visual novel. Everybody, get ready for that.
Everyone says that the Vita's not supported anymore. Here's your evidence to the opposite.
Yep, you got Cyber Sleuth, Hacker's Memory,
Digimon, Digital Monsters.
Yep, Kirby Battle Royale coming to the 3DS on the 19th.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know. It's got Kirby. I'm interested. I just don't have a 3DS, so I can't buy it. Too bad.
Bunch of people inhaling people, I bet, is what it is.
Oof.
I hope that it's PUBG, but with Kirby.
Man, Kirby is a very specific fetish, you know?
Oh yeah, vor.
So,
eating people.
That's all.
Don't just skip over that, Lex.
That's all the games that are gonna come out in the next week.
This is the vor podcast now, okay?
Ugh.
Hey, don't yuck my yum.
Ugh. Thanks everybody for listening, and this has been Don't Copy That Floppy, a video game news podcast, broadcasting live Fridays 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/DCTF podcast. If you want to find our show archives, you can do that on our amazing benefactor, chipbit.net, and also check out some of the other stuff on there. There's great chiptune music. Also, our show archive is on iTunes. You can find that by searching Don't Copy That Floppy on there. And if you want to check us out on social media, the places we are most active are Facebook and Twitter.
And GeoCities.
And LiveJournal also.
And LiveJournal.
Don't forget about LiveJournal. So you can find us on Facebook by just searching Don't Copy That Floppy. You can find us on Twitter with our handle @DCTF Podcast. So, that's where we are. If you want to support the show, that would be fantastic. You definitely should. You can go to our iTunes and leave us a rating and review. That would be super helpful. And if you have a whole lot of money, you just don't know what to do with it all, you can find us on Patreon by searching Don't Copy That Floppy. And you can give us money and get access to bonus content every month.
Bonus content.
Yeah. Air horns go off in the distance. So, with that all being said, that's it for us. Until next time, Chris, what do people have to remember?
We're mathematically obliged to tell you to not copy this floppy.